Interesting. All right, so it is, what time is it? It's 4:02. I think we can probably get going. Welcome, everybody. It is Wednesday afternoon, and it's time for the bi-weekly updates that we have with Chris Carlsson on the PPP loan, presented to you by SCORE Monmouth. Just usual kind of housekeeping real quick for those of you who've joined before, but for those of you who are new, we do welcome questions. We'd love to take any questions that you have. If you could put them in the chat, not in the chat box, but in the Q&A, that would be really helpful for us, because it helps us to manage them, and we will answer them as we go through the presentation or the conversation, and at the end as well. And so with that, Chris, I'm just going to hand over to you.
Okay, thanks, Claire. And welcome, everybody. I think people are starting to get a little bit fatigued about hearing about PPP. Today, we do have some exciting news for applicants for PPP that use Schedule C to calculate the maximum loan amount. So as of, I'm guessing today, they said that there was not going to be a delayed implementation, is that they did change the rule for 1040 Schedule C applicants, meaning that if you did your PPP loan using your Schedule C, you now get a bump if you didn't get to the maximum amount before. So as of now, they're changing what you look at on the Schedule C to base your maximum loan amount on. It used to be that it was the 20.83% of net income. Now, as of today, 45 minutes ago, they now change it to be 20.83% of revenues at the maximum of 20,830. I didn't say that, but that's what I meant to say. That maximum stays at the $20,830, but it's based on the gross revenues number that you have on line 7 on Schedule C. So for example, if you previously had a net income on your Schedule C for taxes, and we all know kind of what we do with taxes, and that was $50,000, you were now capped at $10,400 for your PPP loan. Now, if you had at least $100,000 of revenues, then you now can multiply that revenue number up to 100,000 with 20.833. So in this case, you just doubled your PPP loan. And the same if you have employees. What you do there is that you keep looking at your line 7, which is the revenue line. Then you take out the benefits, the pensions, and the wages that you paid. Now you have a remaining of revenue minus those expenses. Now you take that number and multiply by 20.83% to at the maximum $20,830. That's now your maximum loan for PPP. So for everybody who was below that maximum $20,800, you now can get an increase. It is unknown if we can go back and reapply if we already did apply. They said when it first came out 10 days ago, no, you can't. I bet that somehow they are going to reassess that, because I don't think that they're going to get completely tapped out on all those $285 billion that they've set aside for this. So, but for those of you who heard about that this was coming and you didn't apply yet, you now got an increase in your PPP loan. And there we go. So what happened is that today, SBA did do one of their interim final notices. How final notices are interim, I'm not sure, but that's what they did, and they called it 13 CFR. And what that is, for most people, what that affects, that allows individuals who use the IRS Form 1040 Schedule C to calculate the maximum loan amount based on gross income and not the net income. Calculation we just went through. What it also did, which we knew before, removes the restriction that you can apply if you have a non-financial fraud conviction, and also if you were delinquent on federal students loan. So now they can also apply, but for most people, it's the gross income being used versus net income on Schedule C that makes that difference. So they instituted a new form to be able to do this too, which has the calculations. And this is what the first page of that form looks like, and it's called 2483. And that has all those information that you typical have on this, the business legal name, the NAICS code. And those of you who have done it before understand what that means. You can just actually go and Google NAICS code, and you get them, and you can get in and see what yours is. I think some banks even have a link that you can click right in there. And etc. Your Social Security numbers, all those kind of things that you need. So the pertinent part of this is what you see here, how this have changed. How this says that now you're using your gross income, again, whichever you want to use, 2019 or 2020 IRS Form 1040, Schedule C, line C, gross income line, which is your revenues after returns, blah, blah, all that stuff. So now you divide by 12, and at the maximum of $8,333, and you multiply by 2.5, that comes to $20,833. So that's your maximum. If you were unlucky enough, or from a tax perspective, lucky enough, not to have a profit before, so you couldn't apply it meant nothing. Now you can. If you had revenues on your Schedule C, you can now apply and get up to 20.83% of your gross revenue on your revenue line, up to $20,833. So for a lot of smaller sole proprietors, independent contractors, these kinds of people, which are a lot of, this is really good. I have heard in the last month or so, maybe longer than that, a lot of the Schedule C PPP applicants who were going a PPP loan for $4,000, $5,000, $3,000, $6,000, but had a larger revenue base. They can now go up to $20,800. So that's where we are. Another thing that has happened, what we see is that a lot of banks have kind of put a hold on processing forgiveness applications. And that is because the new PPP 2 came in, they got busy doing that, and they'd rather do that because that's how they make money. That's how they get their commissions. And they're getting decent commissions on what they do. So they do that first, then they're going to go back and do your forgiveness application. As long as you applied for forgiveness before your time period is up, you're not going to actually get the miss the deadline and those kind of things. And they will get back to it. There is no doubt, because the banks do not want to service these loans. They wanted to get forgiven, forget about it, get it off the books. And unless you get other loans or you have deposit, we'll never have to talk to you again. That's really what they want to do. So this is the news. This is really the thing that is there now. Other than that, there is nothing really new from the last time, and obviously this is big. So I am really excited for all of you out there that got less than the maximum amount or would have gotten, and I hope that we can go back and reapply if we didn't get that. Right now, if you haven't applied yet, and I know a lot of people actually held off after the news came out, I'm not going to do it yet. I'm going to wait. So this is now happening. Now, be a little bit patient, because all of this is dependent on that your lender getting their act together, because they have to reprogram what they do. And what you want to do is to make sure, be on it, because as far as I know, they haven't extended the 3/31 deadline to apply. So be on your lender and see what they do. Get your stuff together, get your Schedule C. What you're going to need also, in addition to the Schedule C for this, is your revenue base to prove for PPP 2 that you had at least 25% revenue decrease in one of the quarters in 2020 compared to 2019. That's really all I have today. I figured it was going to be short. It's exciting news. So do we have any questions out there?
We do. We have a couple of questions. Hold on. I will let me start my video as well. Actually, we have one question. Just a quick note to the people on here. I posted in the chat box, even though I always say don't use chat, I did post it, a link to the NAICS website that you can look for your NAICS code, just in case anybody needed it. So we have one question. It's from Felicia. She said, for a small business that's looking to find a start, but doesn't have much capital to invest in starting a business properly, would they be able to qualify for assistance with the PPP loan? She manages a few small ventures, but wants to be able to increase what she's doing with the marketing, etc. So would that help her qualify as a PPP loan, or would she have to have proven growth in revenue as well as employees for her business?
The one requirement that there is that you have been in business by February 15, 2020. That is the one requirement that there is. After that, it is all the other stuff. You can use the 2019 numbers, or you can use any 12-month rolling, or if you don't have 12 months, if you have 9 months by now in 2020, you actually would have 10 and a half months if you were in business as of 2/15, you can use those numbers. So whatever you have, if you're a Schedule C applicant, then you have to, if you weren't in business in 2019, then you have to use your 2020 number. And if you haven't done your tax filing yet, which most people haven't, then you have to do a presumptive Schedule C. I'm not sure I answered the question, because I kind of got into my own thinking there.
I think so. I think you did answer the question. Felicia, if you want some more clarification on that, feel free to put that back into the, oh, yep, she said you did answer it. Yep, you got it. Okay. And then we have someone's just asking if you could repeat what you said about the NICS code. So maybe just cover that part again.
Yes, in the application for PPP loan, you have to actually tell the lender, or actually it's in a requirement for SBA, that you tell them which NAICS code that your industry belongs to. And nobody knows that. And most people on their tax return don't do it. So you kind of don't. And the link that Claire posted, you can just click on that, describe what industry you're in, and you'll be able to look up the code to put on the application.
Okay, do we have any other questions from anyone or any other topics that we want to cover? Because if we don't, oh, here's one. Where can we go to get the application for the PPP?
How this works, 99.99% of the cases, is that easiest way is actually to Google a PPP lender, but make sure that it's PPP and not scam artists. But most lenders are doing PPP loans, and it's a portal, and that portal, they want your downloads, but what it is mostly clicking boxes and filling in boxes that mirrors that application that you had. If you want to look at the application, if you want to have it, we are going to send out the PowerPoint that I'm using here, and there is a copy of the form included in that. And I think of what I just do, I'll do the PDF with that, Claire, so we can send it out to everybody. But it is with the lenders, they mirror the form in their portal.
Okay. So sorry, I was just changing screens. So another question is, will the PPP funds affect the NJRA lease rental grants?
It's my understanding that they don't. And most grants that I've seen and heard of disregard whether you got PPP loan or not, because it kind of would be defeat the purpose.
I can say that, so for the NJRA lease rental grant, I applied for that for one of the businesses I'm involved in, and it did not ask about the PPP loan, but it did ask if we'd had received any of them, like the Monmouth Cares grants and stuff like that, and how we had spent, how that money had been applied. So I don't think that I don't believe it affects the PPP.
No, I don't think so. Typically, not either.
Okay, and then just somebody's asking for the chart, for what you have on the screen, noting the revenues, the 20.83%. What does that mean? Is that an increase or a decrease in revenue?
Oh, it's not a decrease or increase. The 20.83% is the same. It's the basis on which we apply it. If you're a 1040 Schedule C applicant, instead of going to your net income line on your Schedule C, that might be $20,000, and multiply that by 20.83%. You now go to your revenue line, line 7, which might be 100,000, and you multiply that by 20.83%. The percent it comes from, it's the same. It is the number that you use as a basis to apply the average monthly, which for Schedule C becomes the revenues for the year divided by 12. That's the average monthly times 2.5. That is the 20.83%.
Okay.
And I see that Alicia is asking about how do you identify scammers or not. Typically, the scammer will be saying things like, is it hard to get the PPP loan? Is your funding delayed? Those kind of things. And then that's often is what that really is an MCA loan, because they're going to say, well, I can tie you over till you get the PPP loan. If you get into their portal and they start asking all the right questions and they say it's a PPP loan, all those kind of things, then it's probably the right thing. If you are getting to a point where they say that you're going to start signing personal guarantees on a, what do you call this? We decide they link that you sign on the screen for all those kind of things.
Oh, a DocuSign, like the DocuSign.
DocuSigns.
Yeah.
And that they start talking about different kind of interest or factor rates, then that's not it. So be careful, make sure that you don't get into the wrong thing. But typically up front, you can see there are a lot of scam emails that is on that.
And I would say as well, if you Google, like if you see someone, if you Google, PPP lenders, and then they come up, then Google the references on that. If you think someone looks appealing to you, and it's not a mainline bank, if it's not a mainstream what I would call a high street bank, but I'm not sure we can call that here, but it's not a bank you've heard of. They could still be very reputable. So just Google them and have a look for some, some reviews or some history or some story on them.
You has a question about if this applies to a sub S corp with no employees except owner. And I would say that might actually depend on the lender. First, we have read that yes, it would. Now we specifically see 1040 Schedule C. And sometimes depends on how you do things. Typically a sub S, it gets to a different place. But if you get it on the Schedule C, yes, and people who get K1s, it might work. If the lender asks you if you have no employees and then it takes you further, then you're home free and it goes on.
Okay. Let's see. I don't believe there's any other questions right now. Does anybody have any, if anybody has any questions, put them into the chat box. If not, I'll just give you my spiel. So we're having this call every couple of weeks. We have another one in 2 weeks. We'll then determine whether or not we'll continue. We've been doing these for 3 or 4. We've had 3 or 4 of them already, and we'll determine whether or not we think we need to continue them. So the next one, I think it's March 17th, is 2 weeks from now. We also have a restaurant series that's starting tomorrow, and it's going to be a 3-part series of webinars that is going to have helps specifically for restaurants and guidance specifically for restaurants and hospitality. So if you are in that industry, or if you have any friends who may be in that industry and are looking for some guidance on financially, on lending, etc., then encourage them to log in. We have webinars scheduled now through the end of June, or the middle of June, with a variety of different topics as well. So just check out our website at monmouth.score.org. If anybody's looking for a mentor, also check out our website. We're always we have many mentors available to help people with their businesses. So that's my spiel. I will say, Felicia, this is being recorded, yes, and we won't send you a link of the recording, but you'll find it on our YouTube channel. So if you just go to YouTube and Google Score Monmouth, you'll find that there. Plus all of our past webinars that we've done will be on there as well, in case there's anything of any interest to you guys. And then I think we have one other, now I finished my spiel, we have one other question, which was any news on how it is working with the special attention to small businesses for 2 weeks through next week?
I have not heard that there has been an incredible rush. There's a lot of people who are in the category where you were going to get preference are actually been waiting for this program to happen. So I would say now aggressively go after it. The portal, the program of locking out people with more than 20 employees is ending on March 8th. So what that was really designed to do was really to get the lenders to prioritize smaller companies and operations. And I would say just go for it. I think there's plenty of money. Last time I looked for anything, there was still like 130 billion left or something like that. There's a lot of money left.
Okay. All right. So on that note, we will we'll sign off here. Thank you everybody for attending, and we will see you on the next webinar. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.